Shoma, thank you for joining me today. Can you just introduce yourself and we can talk about the project we're looking to do here?
Well, I work as a park life officer for South Derbyshire District Council, and my role is to link up with the local communities, get them active on the parks. We're in Eureka Park today
On a sunny day.
Exactly, a lovely sunny day, sitting at Miners Memorial Park, which is a recent garden addition to the park to really celebrate the local heritage and the mining.
So you were telling me a little story, weren't you,
Yeah.
on the background here, and we'll show a close-up of these. So these arches, there's a story about those, isn't there?
Yep, so the materials used in a lot of the areas of the garden have actually come from the local mining community. So those arches were part of the mining that was done around here, and that's now been incorporated into this wonderful garden, and also the statue of the Bevan Boys and the pit pony.
Okay.
Is also reused materials.
Nice.
And then the local school has also got involved with an artist to do this lovely mosaic here.
Lovely.
And then the garden's been set up for sort of all round interest, and I really contacted you because I wanted to also, thinking about the environment and nature and the trees that we have around here, and to look at how we can keep this garden as sustainable with our composting aspect.
Yeah, and when we were first discussing,
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of a reassurance that you've done something right to begin with, because actually you've done a really good job here. So yeah, we're obviously looking at the next steps really. So can you just explain a little bit about the green flag scheme, and also what that means to you?
Yep. So the green flag scheme is a award that we have here. This particular park has been awarded the green flag, and in order to gain the green flag, they look at a number of measurements and parameters to really sort of assess how the park's been maintained,
Okay.
and how the local community view the park. And one of the aspects that came up, because they always do a review and a report, so you can constantly improve and look at areas that you may not have focused on last time you went for the award, was the composting facilities on site, and that really sort of prompted me to think about what I do at home, because I've used Bokashi at home, which is a different system to what we'll
The
be doing
food waste
here.
one, yeah.
Yeah, but what I like about that, or what I've learned a little bit about that, is the fungi.
Bacteria ratios and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to understand a bit more about that, so that's why I sort of contacted you, and whether there's a possibility of upscaling or doing that here without the veg waste, but using the materials that we have around us.
And that's the great thing about what you have here in the park,
Yeah.
is actually you have loads of organic content you can use. But like any council or anyone looking at these kind of systems, it's time, it's effort, it's money, it's all the things that we obviously we have to take into consideration. And what we have planned here should be a very minimal cost, a very minimal input, and hopefully will create some biodiversity. So it's really interesting that you're talking about the composting side. So as a council, what composting is done at the moment? Is any composting done at the moment, or?
Yeah, so I've looked a little bit into that, because where I sit within the council, I don't get involved in the composting side, and I am relatively new here. But a lot of the material all does get composted, but it's mainly off-site. We do have a few bays here which we're using, and the other thing I've thought about the Bokashi side, which you've explained to me, is you have the option of non-turn as well as turned, again for time and
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I see composting as like being a cook really, and about seasoning things. So in a perfect world, you would have a vermicompost area, you would have a Bokashi area, you would have an aerobic, and you would have an anaerobic Johnson. So all these kind of things. But what we're trying to do here is obviously trying to find what's going to fit into the systems. So we've discussed obviously the area, which we'll show you later on in the video, which does look like a start of a project. So just to emphasise, this video is definitely the first of many. We'll be coming back obviously later on in the year to come and see how it's been progressing. But it's good that the groundsmen have kind of seen a potential for it, and from an environmental impact, the key thing is you're keeping everything on site. Just out of curiosity, what did you feel were the barriers with this conversation internally? Because obviously, it's all very nice having this perfect world and everything, but it's nice to hear that kind of side as well.
So I think the barriers would be time, and also coordinating, making sure that, like, particularly if you're turning, from that perspective, how do we work out whether it's being turned in a certain time? It's the coordinating and the...
Which is where the Bokashi process comes into play, and where we're seeing probably the potential going to be higher with that side, because obviously it's a non-turn system. But I do feel that, especially when you're trying to adapt something new into a system, these systems have been going for years and years and years and done very well. And politely, there's nothing wrong with what we have here. We're just wanting to obviously improve. And the last thing you ever want to have is issues with disease, etc. in the future, which does obviously can cause massive consequences. When it came to obviously setting this up as a pilot, how did you go about that with the council? Because it'd be nice to tell the listeners, obviously, what process and how you got to this conversation, so that maybe other councils could even have a conversation about it.
I mean, for me, there weren't any barriers on that side.
Brilliant.
To be honest.
Love it. Just so every other council out there, just to say there's no barriers here.
Essentially, I went on a post green flag walk to go round with the document with my team to see what was good, what needs improvement, and of course that's when I heard about the composting. I'd read the document and had it sort of earmarked in my mind, but that's when I read about that, made the suggestion, they said look into it, so
brilliant.
It's absolutely fine. And I think also what helped was that we were looking to refurbish the area anyway, so that sort of seed was planted.
Love
before.
That. Always about the seed being planted. And I think that's the thing with most councils. Most councils will see it as an outer sight, outer mind kind of attitude. But what you'll find is that when we start to establish this and people see the benefits of it, and I think we were talking a lot about water retention.
Yes.
Obviously, we, in the climate we're in at the moment, we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. Yesterday was a good example. We had rain, we had sun, we had sleet, we had snow, we had a bit of hailstones, and then there was nothing, and now we have sunshine again. But also the resilience of the plants, you need to kind of keep that in the system. And what I love about Bokashi is that we're not just getting away from the DNA and the structure of what's actually living in that compost, but what we're doing is adding it back into that system, which already has all that structure there. And it's really interesting to see how science is now evolving to understand that these are little micro systems inside, and in the future they should be able to be resilient, because politely in nature there's no such thing as waste. We've created this waste stream. We've obviously discussed about what we already have here, so we want to move to the future. So we've had a little walk around, we've had a little discussion, well not a little discussion, it's been quite a big discussion actually about different bits and bobs. So we've kind of got a plan.
Yes.
So do you want to just explain what we're going to do? So obviously firstly the compost bay area.
Yeah. So the composting bay area was initially my only plan. before you came
until
today.
Marcel came along and started talking about other things,
started adding
shiny
other things.
Yeah,
exactly. So up there, we're planning to start a Bokashi bay, and from looking at your documents before and our discussion, did highlight the obvious thing that I do need a holding bay as well added on, which is absolutely fine. That's
so the
not
video
really a
that I'll
problem.
show, obviously, of a pan, etc., and you'll look at
Yeah.
it, it looks like an absolute mess. Really is not. I can see where the process is.
Yeah,
you just haven't got the
exactly.
bays to do the process, which is, that's the
It's
next step. So
starting.
the start of it.
Yeah. So up there we'll have the holding bays and the bay purely for the Bokashi that will be layering and covering over. No turning involved in that because I want to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And get everyone to understand the process.
Yep.
See all the lovely
mycelium
in there, because that's what really got me hooked at home when I saw it in the raised
the fungi
beds.
and etc. It's just things
just lift
living
up
in
cardboard and you're just like, wow.
Wow.
So, which also made me think I want the general public to be able to see that as well. We've got a lovely gardening group that started up here, so they'll be involved in the bay process, but that is a sealed area. So from what we were talking about earlier today, also looking in the future, once we've got the process understood and working well, to do areas that are more accessible for the general public to see as well.
This is what I love about the Bokashi process. It's fully scalable. You can literally do it from a small 1 metre by 1 metre a pile, which we're looking to do here. So actually, in an area like this, we'd literally do a cut and drop system. We'll make a nice mound out of it. But we were discussing obviously about biodiversity.
Yes.
Which will hopefully tick some good boxes when it comes to the green flags side. Because it's a no-turn system, you will have a lot more wildlife wanting to make their homes in there as well. It's going to be interesting to see how the public will see this. We're going to do some signage and obviously explain it, because people may not know what the system is. But I think it's really important that the public see that. Because without that education, then they don't really understand what's going on. The problem is people see perennials like this and they would say that this is a messy garden compared to an allotment. But actually, I would see this as a more natural way of, obviously putting things in place. So what are you hoping to achieve, obviously, from the public's perception of this project?
I think I'm hoping is really just engagement and gradually helping people understand that there are different ways to compost and what that actually does to the soil underground, because you don't see it until you start digging or you see the birds digging.
The birds are digging, there's worms under there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you really look closely. And I think, like we were saying earlier as well in one of our conversations, sometimes you don't get a chance to stop and look at things and really sort of
understand what the process is.
And this is a great garden for people to be able to do that. You've got the seating areas, you've got a lot of interest around.
And it's really accessible as well, which is lovely. It's lovely to see. There are obviously a lot of non-modern gardens, sort of 19th century, that are just not designed for wheelchair access, etc. It's lovely to see that there's full access here. But I think, from my point of view, and obviously my involvement with yourselves, hopefully this will be something I don't need to get involved in on a regular basis. But obviously we're here to help and support. So if you were going to give a council, some advice in respects to making these first steps, because I've had a conversation with other councils and we always get to a barrier. What do you feel, what would be your advice really to see the value in composting and obviously looking at these kind of systems?
It's a tricky one. It depends what the barrier is, really.
Sometimes I would say, I'll help you with that. I would say it's always money or labour or it's always to do with cost with these kind of things. So the Actitherm that we're providing you is super cheap. Apart from doing an aerobic system where you're manually having to move it, which is going to cost you no money, but you're still going to have to pay the labour costs on that.
I was about to say, it does cost in a different way.
And I feel that with an added amendment that doesn't have to be turned, etc., it doesn't have to be looked after, I feel that is got more value to it. Obviously, it's very difficult sometimes when people are saying, well, you're just a company, you're trying to sell something. But as I was saying to you before, we're trying to mimic nature, and I've given you loads of information on DIY versions, and I know that doesn't sit very well with a council, but for home environments, then obviously that is a possibility as well. So,
and that's absolutely, and I think by showing people here what we're doing here, it's also the scalability to their own home, because like you say, the product itself isn't too expensive, but the brand, I remember buying the brand, I think it's pretty well over 6 months ago, and I haven't got through it all yet. And you know, I've been doing it for years, and it's like I very rarely have to buy it because it's just a sprinkle.
Yeah.
So it's not too much, and you can do DIY versions of things.
And
so.
we give you tools as well. So there's a Bokashi recipe if you ever want to get a bit of DIY. So we try and scale up as much as we can, because you know it needs to be inclusive for everyone that does it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the next stage of the project, and thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.